Sometimes it actually surprises me what I get asked to make in terms of video content on this channel, and something I've actually been asked multiple times to show you guys is a direct comparison between the Pixel Fold and the S23 Ultra. It seems like a lot of you ended up buying the S23 Ultra, and you want to know, is that Pixel Fold, in terms of the screen real estate, right, the primary feature of the Pixel Fold, cover display and that tablet screen, is it truly an upgrade for me with this very large slab style phone? So in this video, that's what I'm going to try to show you guys, but why stop there? I'm going to throw the Z Fold in there as well, so you can see all three devices side by side going through many different things, multimedia, text applications, so forth and so on, and hopefully that will help illustrate for you exactly what the difference is between these three. So let's start this off by looking at the cover displays on the Pixel Fold and the Z Fold in comparison to the S23 Ultra. And I think that it's fairly obvious that we're going for three pretty different things, different approaches with these three devices. If we line them all up, I think it's plain to see that the Pixel Fold is obviously a lot shorter than the S23 Ultra, and the S23 Ultra is actually even taller than the Z Fold device. But if you look at the width alone, a lot of people think that the Pixel Fold is like weirdly wide. Like I get comments from people being like, it's just strange how wide it is. You're not going to be able to hold it with one hand because it's so wide. Well, the reality is that it's really not that wide. It's actually about as wide as the S23 Ultra. It's a pretty normal width for a flagship phone. We've just subtracted the top, what would you say, half an inch to 3/4 of an inch off the top of the device, which to me makes a ton of sense because this is a device whose width is relatively comfortable to me, but it's a device that, like the Z Fold, I cannot hope to reach the top of the device with my typical pinky grip without shifting my pinky grip and sort of, walking my fingers up to the top of the device to reach the top of the device, which is why this is a phone that for me absolutely requires a grip of some sort so that I don't have to use the pinky grip. I can hold it here in the middle, and that allows the full device to be reachable for me. And please, 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 before anybody says, you can swipe down in the middle to get to your notifications if you want. Notifications are not the only thing that are at the top of a screen. I get that comment so much, but like literally open up any application and there's going to be stuff at the top of the screen you're going to need to reach. So stop talking about notifications. For the Z Fold, we've talked about it a lot. Of course, it's not quite as tall as the S23 Ultra. It is also quite a bit more narrow than the S23 Ultra, as you can see there. And it's something that you're either going to like or you're not going to like. And that is up to you to decide. Let's do something now, though. Let's go into an application that a lot of people are going to use, and we're going to use this app for a lot of this. Let's just do YouTube. Let's make sure that our volume is turned down on all of them. And as you can see, we're getting a very different appearance on all three of these. There are some pros and some cons. So let's start with the Pixel Fold. You can see we're only seeing the top two videos. With the S23 Ultra, it's a little bit weird because we have the shorts feed, but we have a video, the shorts feed, and then the top of another video. With the Z Fold, we have almost 3 full videos. Okay, so I just refreshed the S23 Ultra and I got rid of the shorts feed. So you can see here the Z Fold is giving you the most content in terms of just things on the screen. However, it is also by far the smallest content. So you're saying I've got more, but it's really small. This has almost as much, but it's really big. And then this has the least amount of content, but it's almost the same physical size as what you're getting on the S23 Ultra. So if we actually fire up a video, you can see some pretty big differences here. With the Z Fold, yes, you can see more content, more stuff on the screen, but it is very, very small. Nobody's gonna wanna watch a YouTube video like that. That is so like ridiculously small. That's just a terrible experience. The Pixel Fold and the S23 Ultra, I should say, are both showing relatively large videos even in this orientation, although I would say most people are going to want to rotate these devices. So if it's not obvious, Pixel Fold, S23, and Z Fold. In this orientation, I think it's pretty obvious that the S23 Ultra is the best experience. The video is the largest, but
Let's line up the Pixel Fold with the edge of the video, and you can see the other edge of the video. There's a Australian Shepherd here that's made its way onto the table. You can see where that line is. You're only gaining a tiny amount of extra size on that video. Let's grab a USB cable to kind of like make that line, right? There's the line. So you're gaining that little sliver back here. So the Pixel Fold is devilishly close to the same size actual video content, whereas the Z Fold is considerably smaller compared to either of these other two devices. Something I forgot to mention while I was initially filming is that on these foldable devices, tint mode is also something that you can do, which typically does make for a pretty nice experience, although with the lack of black bars on either side and the full screen video, I don't think many people are going to choose the Z Fold over the Pixel Fold for this specific thing. And just like we have tint mode, well, we also have laptop mode, and it's going to be very, very similar. We have the controls on the bottom of both of these, but more screen real estate for that stuff to spread out on the Pixel Fold. As you can see, the video is quite a bit larger than it is on the Z Fold. So if we open up another multimedia app like TikTok, you can see, again, there are some differences in what is going on. With the Z Fold, you of course have large black bars on the top and bottom because no content is made, no video content is made with this aspect ratio in mind. The S23 Ultra and the Pixel Fold are far more full screen type experiences than we have on the Z Fold. And if we're looking at content that happens to be 16:9, again, these two are nearly the same size. If I line up the top line, you can see the difference here because this is still a wider screen. You have to deal with the hinge on this side. So it goes 1, 2, and then 3 in terms of size of video content. If we then flip over to something like Twitter, again, we can see the differences here. The amount of content on screen between the two Samsung devices is nearly identical, with exception to, of course, the fact that the size of the content is different. And the Pixel Fold is showing not a huge difference, but it is definitely showing, the least amount of content of these two devices. So the Pixel Fold, maybe you could put it succinctly like this. The content is a bit larger, but you see less of it. Over here, the content is definitely very, very small, but you see more of it. And then something like the S23 Ultra, a traditional flagship, go figure, apps seem to be best fit on it because, well, that's the kind of device these apps were meant to run on. But now we need to do what these two devices were meant to do, which is open up into a tablet and see what happens next. So let's start back where we were. Let's go back into the YouTube application, and what you'll see is, again, 3 very different approaches. With the Z Fold, this is the orientation they intend on you using it in, vertically. Now, of course, before anybody gets mad at me, you can rotate it, and then it's going to be basically identical to the Pixel Fold. But for the sake of this video, because this is the default orientation, this is how we're going to have it in this video. You can see 4 videos here, 6 videos here, 2 and some change on this one. And if we actually jump into the video content, again, 3 different experiences. If we go full screen on all of them, and for this we're going to need to rotate the S23 Ultra to actually be able to compare the size of the video itself on these devices. So let's move the Pixel Fold out of the way for just a moment. So we compare these two, what you're going to see is that the video is actually bigger on the S23 Ultra. Now if we rotate it, that's what you're going to want to do here. That stops being true. Now the S23 Ultra is smaller, but it's not like that much smaller, right? And if you're on the Pixel Fold, of course, it's going to be the exact same thing. The S23 Ultra is going to be smaller, but not a ton smaller. This is such a large phone that even with these tablets, the video content ends up being, what, like 75% as large as it is on the tablet. And you have less of a black bar. Of course, you can zoom in on all 3, and you don't lose a lot here. You lose a lot more on the tablets. So definitely something to keep in mind. If we jump back into TikTok, you'll see all 3 of these applications are fairly well optimized. You can have your comments on one side and the video on the other on the 2 folding devices, but due to the orientation, the aspect ratio, perhaps you could say, the Z Fold is probably the better experience because you're getting more video. But likewise with the Z Fold, you can also rotate the Pixel Fold and then get pretty much the exact same experience on both of these devices. But I think you've got a pretty strong argument that, again, TikTok is just better fit for a vertical slab style phone. If we jump back into Twitter, yeah, there's some stuff going on here. So immediately this device starts showing you a whole lot less content because of just the aspect ratio. The S23 Ultra has remained the same, and the Pixel Fold has kind of lost its mind a bit because the Twitter app has not been properly optimized. They do not have resizability enabled when they made this application, so you get black bars on the side. This is Google's way of sort of trying to make this app look a little bit better. And I'll show you here, if I rotate the Z Fold, you'll see what it would look like if it just expanded itself out. Whoops. You see how little content you're actually able to see? Well, that is the reason why there are pillar boxes on the Pixel Fold. Of course, you can rotate it, and then again, there are still some slight pillar boxes, and the reason is so that you can get a little bit more content on the screen. You end up being, about there, so you get a little bit more. Of course, these devices all can multitask relatively well, so we do need to look at that very quickly. So let's open up a couple of apps on the Pixel Fold first. Let's do YouTube, and we'll go into the split screening menu, and then from there, I can just pick another app either from there or from here, whatever you want to do. And we're just going to go ahead and pick X or Twitter. Boom, there you go. Okay, over here, let's do the same thing. Let's open up YouTube. We'll pull that video back up. We'll open in split screen view. There's X or Twitter. And now we have the same thing. Now, what you can see here though is, I think pretty obviously, the foldables have the advantage just because of the total screen real estate in terms of multitasking. You get two squares over here, which you could say pretty good for video, because let's say you just kind of tweak this thing up and now you have a video up top and a pretty decent, almost like the Pixel Fold size screen down below it. Of course, if you're doing something that needs a 50-50 split, it's not necessarily the best experience. With the Z Fold, both apps are very narrow. You basically have two of the cover displays. Maybe you like that. Maybe you like seeing the extra content. I guess I just closed that, so let's drag that back up again. Perhaps you like seeing the extra content compared to the Pixel Fold, or perhaps you like the extra width, the extra overall size on the Pixel Fold. That's going to be something that, again, is going to be preferential. Of course, these can also be rotated into that orientation. You can rotate the Z Fold, and then these two become extremely close matches. The Pixel Fold is different. When you rotate it, you go top and bottom. They do not allow you to ever have two skinny apps like you get by default on the Z Fold.
It's honestly really surprising how close the S23 Ultra gets to matching what these foldables can do, right? Like in terms of multimedia, just generally using applications, that device is right there with those other two as far as I'm concerned. And it's just such a great device all around. It makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. However, the big differentiating factor for me, and I think for many, is going to be split screen multitasking. Because of the aspect ratio, it's not video content because it's really not that far behind. It's split screening. Do you want to have two little squares or two full-size applications? If you want the latter, a folding phone is where you're going to need to be. Otherwise, a big phone like the S23 or something like the Pixel 7 Pro, which is effectively the same size, might be the way to go for a lot of people, and you don't have to deal with the possible fragility, let's say, of the folding ultra-thin glass of these other, modern folding phones. Hopefully this has been informational. Apologies that anytime in this video I had to kind of zoom out a bit and use a wide angle lens. My best cameras happen to be the phones that were being filmed for this, and my Pixel 7 Pro is currently out of the house, so I didn't have access to that either. So I had to fall back to a phone that doesn't have maybe the best ultra wide camera for video. So in those sections, if the video quality was a bit degraded, that is why. I'm sorry. It's all I had on hand to make this video with. Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content just like this. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.